This morning there were revelations in global news that Minister Randy Boissonnault may have been party to what's been described by some as wire fraud to the tune of $500,000 as it relates to his business partner, Mr. Stephen Anderson. So there were text messages that were included in the media reports that detail someone named Randy, who's not pleased with the delay of this $500,000 wire transfer with a company out of California. And then Randy, in the text messages, demands a partner call with Stephen Anderson. So Minister Randy Boissonnault has said today that he owns a company that owns, that he wholly owns a company that owns 50% of GHI. And Mr. Anderson, to his knowledge, owns the other half. Minister Boissonnault contends that he is not the Randy involved in these text messages. Having made a pronouncement following a complaint that you weren't going to pursue an investigation, does the emergence of new information generally, and does the information in this article today, if you've read it, give rise to a re-examination of your decision, and finally, have you reviewed the allegations that were reported in the media this morning?
Mr. Baird, like you, I read the story this morning for the very first time. It's complete news to me. Never knew anything about it. It obviously raises some serious implications if the story is true. You heard what the minister said. The ruling that we made was based on the information that he disclosed to us, and he disclosed to us with regard to GHI only one thing, that he owned 50% through his numbered company. Clearly, we will look into this, and if our looking into it shows that there's more to it, there is substance to it, there may be contraventions of either the Act or probably the Act, then of course we will have to look, and I have the capacity to self-initiate another inquiry and look into it. At this point in time, I am really caught by surprise. I didn't know about it until I read it this morning. I don't know this thing. I heard the minister's testimony. I think it would be absolutely irresponsible to make a premature decision as to what we're going to do and how. All I can do is tell you that we will look into it.
Right. I think that's entirely fair, sir. It was new information. Just like you, we prepare for committee based on the information that we have, and in the 2 hours in advance to find that information or those allegations. It is it creates a challenging environment. So you expressed that it was that the allegations in it were serious and new. So is it correct to understand that that Minister Boissonnault didn't previously disclose that circumstance to you, and that you will be investigating these new allegations, and if necessary, you would self-initiate an investigation?
As I said in my opening statement, we made our ruling on the basis of the information disclosed to us. He disclosed to us that he owned 50% of GHI through his numbered company. That's all we know about GHI. All of this now is what GSI did, was involved, who ran actually it, who this Randy is that is being mentioned, did he actually do, etc. All of this is news, and as I said, all I can do is say we will look into it. I cannot make a decision on any of that because I really have nothing more than the report in which you have too from Global News, and the testimony that you heard this morning from the minister.
Yep, that's. I appreciate that response. I want to ask a quick question on another subject, if I may. The Auditor General released a report this morning, and I'm not sure if your office gets those as well. And in it, there were 90 instances of undisclosed, and I think 96 instances of disclosed conflicts of interest, but the 90 instances of undisclosed conflicts of interest in matters of $76 million being handed out by by individuals who were appointed by the NDP Liberal government. Are you aware of this finding by the Auditor General?
No, of course not. She makes her finding public today. We don't. She is under confidentiality provisions and obligations the same as I. Having read that, etc., as you know, I undertook to give a ruling on the conflict of interest of Madame Verschuren and Mr. Winmet before August 1st, and I will do so. And clearly we will deal with conflict of interest there. I don't know what these conflict of interests are that she refers to. I haven't read the report either. Just like you this morning, it came out, and I managed to read the executive summary. So I really don't want to speak any further about it, because maybe there's something in the report that will illuminate some of these points. It's very troubling to hear that there has been that much conflict of interest, and obviously that's an area that concerns us primarily. And while she is more or less, as an Auditor General, she's looking at the whole operations, the effect, the value for money, etc. So there's a different focus that she has than we have.
First round, we're going to go to 5-minute rounds. So I'm going to start with Mr. Kirk. Go ahead.
Thanks very much, Commissioner, and thank you for coming back to the committee. One of the challenges I think we have here is that there's questions about who this Randy is. You've mentioned those questions. I know that was certainly the conclusion of the last round. That is still an outstanding question. I would just ask, though, that it seems to me that in this question about who is Randy, if the principals involved in this company and they exchange accordingly, a thought that they were in fact referring to a minister of the Crown, even if that minister wasn't involved in that, and there was benefit derived from that, is there some ethical challenges that you would have with that?
The task of the office is to ensure there's no conflict of interest and to avoid help people avoid conflict of interest. In the situation that you mentioned, the question is there a conflict of interest here somewhere? Is there, there's this exchange using the name of Randy? Does that by itself create a conflict of interest? No. If the Randy is a minister and he is actually involved in running a company, then of course it's a totally different issue.
And if he benefited from the perception that he was the one that was passing along that message, would that constitute a conflict?
It's with all of these hypotheticals, it depends very much on the facts, and without having the total facts, I can't answer your question.
Well, I appreciate that, and I think that emphasizes the fact that we need all the facts involved here, because there are many outstanding questions. Just curious, Commissioner, did you have a chance to refer or your office review the deferred compensation agreement that Minister Boissonnault received as a result of work that he didn't do well as a minister? Did your office have a chance to review that?
I don't think it was a deferred compensation. It was an amount of service that he rendered for which he had not been paid. Did we actually, Lynn, do you know the details of this?
I can only confirm that we saw the information of what is owed from Navis to the numbered company, but we did not review an agreement per se.
Okay, I appreciate that. Well, look, thank you, Commissioner, and I know you're always willing to come before this committee, and I do appreciate that, because it's appreciated. And as we get more facts, I know that you and your office will be hard at work looking at that information. But because, Mr. Chair, it's clear that there is some outstanding information that is required in order for us to be able to effectively evaluate this, whether it's the question about who is this Randy, or whether it's the whole series of challenges associated with what we've been, this committee has agreed to study here today. I would move a motion, and I hope that there would be support for what even the Liberals have suggested that we need, and that is to find out the facts. So, Mr. Chair, I hope that we can find agreement amongst this committee for the following motion. That in light of today's media reports and Minister Randy Boissonnault's testimony, the committee call on Stephen Anderson, Kristen Poon, and representatives of the Gowrie Group to appear before the committee individually and testify forthwith for no less than 1 hour each on or before June 20th, and the committee seek additional resources to facilitate these meetings if needed. And then, Chair, I would just make a brief comment on the motion.
Just let me just stop you there. Have you circulated that motion to the clerk, Mr. Kirk?
It's on its way.
Okay. So the motion is in order, and I'll give you the floor for some brief comments. I'm going to ask the clerk to circulate that as soon as she gets it. Go ahead, Mr. Kirk.
Thanks very much, Chair, and I hope that there's agreement, because certainly what the Liberals have suggested, while making some pretty outlandish accusations about, and quite frankly, the minister's conduct was, I've never seen a minister be so partisan before a committee than what Minister Boissonnault was this morning. And certainly there's concern about that, but you'll note in this motion, Chair, that it is, we are not calling back the minister. We want to get the facts. We want to ensure that Canadians can find out exactly what happened. So certainly if there is further information that requires the minister to be recalled, I would hope that we could find agreement amongst the committee. That this is simply to further ensure that Canadians are in fact getting the answers that are deserved when it comes to this matter. And I know Mr. Green as well had mentioned that there's some follow-up needed, and I know that that the Commissioner is always very willing to work with this committee. So with that, Chair, I would simply conclude my remarks by hoping that all members of this committee would support the simple request to get to the bottom of the very clear and outstanding questions that come about as a result of the discussion that we've had here today. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Kirk. The motion has been moved. I do see your hand, Mr. Green, and then I've got Ms. Damoff's hand on the motion. Commissioner, I'm just going to ask that you hang on for a few minutes until we deal with this. It's in English only, so you may want to suspend. Okay. The motion is in English only, so I am going to suspend for a few minutes while we're able to distribute that dans les deux langues officielles, Monsieur Fortin.
In both official languages. We're going to suspend for a few minutes. Just for a few minutes.
Having given time to look at the motion, when we left, the motion had been moved by Mr. Carrick. Everybody has the motion at this point. We are resuming debate on the motion. I have Mr. Green, followed by Ms. Damoff. Mr. Green, go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And you'll note in the past, I've, as an opposition member of this committee, supported deeper dives into government dealings. I certainly support a greater inspection into what's happened here and a better understanding, and a request for having these witnesses, to me, make sense. But what I will tell you is one of the biggest frustrations I've had with this committee is when, and it's happened in the past, where you yourself, sir, have booked meetings without consulting the other parties, and I would reference the Bloc and the NDP or even the Liberal side when it comes to the committee work. And so while I'm supportive of this motion, what I'm not supportive of is the caveat that says that the committee seek additional resources to facilitate these meetings if necessary. To me, having learned from past mistakes, I'm going to go on the record and say I am no longer in support of a committee structure that allows a chair or the official opposition to direct the course of our work without consultations of the other parties. So for that reason, I'm going to put an amendment on this, and I'm going to move that we strike after it says forthwith and no less than. We strike from there forward, and we put in for 1 2-hour regularly scheduled meeting. For 1 2-hour regular scheduled meeting. And the reason why I do that is because I think that we can have all of the witnesses arrive, provide testimony with 5-minute openings, have the ability to question and examine and cross-examine, and only use one regularly scheduled meeting. So we're not in a scenario where you all are booking meetings without consulting the other parties, kind of at your convenience and your will. So that is the amendment that I put. I'm in support of pursuing this, but I'm not going to just give you the ability to do it kind of at your own leisure or prioritization.
All right. Thank you for that, Mr. Green. So just so that I'm clear, your move test for 1 2-hour regularly scheduled meeting, and I assume that you are keeping before June 20th, correct?
I mean,
I
I think, Mr. Chair, what needs to happen at this committee is we need to have a subcommittee that plans work in accordance with the courtesy of including the other parties on the work schedule. And so if we have a subcommittee that plans the work and this is prioritized by way of a regular motion that is directed by committee, then yes, it would be before that. But what I do not want to do is give you the ability to determine when that's going to be without consultation to us. I would state, the obvious, which is that we're 25 members in our caucus without the infinite resources that both the government and the official opposition have. So we have to take our scheduling and our timing and our staffing into account when we make commitments for additional work. And this notion that when we don't concede to the whim of you as the chair, that we're somehow complicit in a cover-up is a cockamamie way of impugning what our work is here as New Democrats. And we even heard it today with these ridiculous references of an NDP Liberal government. I'm not on for that. But what I am on for is holding this government accountable. And what I am on for is using the traditional courtesy of our committee to have a planning committee that allows the committee to direct the work and not just the Conservative Party or you, sir, as chair.
Thank you. So we do have an amendment. On the amendment, any discussion on the amendment? Go ahead, Ms. Damoff.
Thank you, Chair.
On the amendment.
Yes, I know. Thank you, Chair. And I would just say that we have the Commissioner here right now, and I know that it was very important to the committee that he be brought before the committee to offer testimony, and instead we've been sidetracked. He's already said that he's going to be looking into what he read in the newspaper, and so I think we should let him do his work, and so therefore I move to adjourn debate.
Okay. So we have a motion to adjourn debate on the motion amended by, or the proposed amendment by Mr. Green. There's no discussion on adjourning the debate on this motion, so do I have consensus? I'll ask for consensus. No? Okay. So we're going to go to recorded vote. Madam Clerk, on the motion by Ms. Damoff to adjourn debate. Go ahead, please.
Mr. Baines.
Yes.
Ms. Damoff.
Yes?
Mr. Fisher.
Yes.
Mr. Longfield.
Yes.
Mr. McKinnon.
Yes.
Mr. Brett.
No.
Mr. Brock.
No.
Mr. Currick.
No.
Monsieur Fortin.
Oui.
Mr. Green.
No.
Yeas 6 pour 6, nays 4 contre 4.
Okay, so the motion carries to adjourn debate, so we are adjourning debate. We're returning to our next line of questioning. Mr. Currick, your time was concluded.
Just a point of order, Chair.
On what's the point of order, Mr. Currick?
So adjourn debate. Now, just for clarification, a motion to adjourn debate on the amendment to the motion. So does that adjourn debate on the entire debate on the motion?
That's correct,
or simply the amendment that was being debated?
It is to adjourn debate on the entire motion, including the proposed amendment. Now, a member can resume debate at any time at a future meeting that they have the floor on this matter, and we would continue on that on the amendment as proposed by Mr. Green. And then, of course, the floor would be open for interventions at that point. Okay, so that's, does that clear it up?